You're all getting filmed.
What are we doing?
Just look casual.
We're helping her with her cows class.
Not the time of release.
We're listening to the speech. Alright, everyone. Tonight I wanted to give you a tribute speech, and I want to do it for my namesake, the person I was named after, and that is my grandma, Alice Orr Williams. She was an amazing person and a real inspiration to me, as well as my friend and mentor. Now, you might not know about Alice Williams. She has had an amazing life. Her family was always poor, and she's always been poor. So, as a young person, she had to actually pay for a lot of her expenses. She bought her own car when she was like 15 years old. You know, she paid for her own clothes. She paid actually a portion of her family's income as a teenager. And she was very smart in school. She actually had one of the highest GPAs in Saskatchewan when she was a high school senior, and she graduated when she was 17. But she also married as a 17-year-old. She got married very young to a man named James Williams, and since he was a preacher and a missionary, she traveled all over the United States and Canada with him, and of course they didn't earn very much money. But instead of going with a high-paying career, which she could have gone because of her brains, she stayed with him and became a wife and mother. Now, my grandpa and grandma had 6 children on their own while they were traveling around. And my grandma was also a foster mother to probably hundreds of foster kids. They ran a foster home at all times when they were settled. In the course of time, they also adopted 6 kids. And as my grandpa James used to say, they're cheaper by the dozen. My grandma always loved people. Like when I was with her in a small airport, she strikes up conversations with random people and learns about their lives, what they're doing at the airport, and who they're waiting for. And I could never do that. She's just such a people person. And aside from her boundless affection for people, she also has strong purpose and a strong faith. She's a very strongly willed person, which she has needed in her hard life. She's never been rich, she's always poor, but that hasn't kept her from being generous with what she has. She's lost some of her children when they've left the faith and gone their own way. She has come through a struggle with a brain tumor. She had brain cancer a few years ago that she survived, and it's all gone now. And she lost her husband and her mother and one of her daughters to death not too long ago. I know that still gives her grief, I know, because I've talked to her quite a bit about it. She still perseveres. All her children know her firm discipline and her decisive advice. When she has opinion, she tells you about it, and she tells you to you firmly, but also with a lot of grace. And I really admire her will and her spirit. And you all know she has an amazing faith. For those of you who have been at the first family session at FPYC, you know that she'll give an award. She'll bake a pie for anyone who will memorize the scripture. And you know she's also rather strict about making sure you have that scripture memorized exactly right. And that's just her love for the Bible. All through her life, she's gotten a lot of hope from her faith in God. And I also really admire that about her. All in all, she is my real role model in service, in love, and in strength, and in ingenuity. She thinks of ways.
Can't have none of that.
There is audio.
All right. That's right. Okay, so we've zoomed in on the troublemaker.
A boy named Chas was 5 months old when he was diagnosed with leukemia. Several years and countless blood transfusions later, he is healthy and grateful to his many anonymous lifesavers. This was a story from the Red Cross website. Every day, thousands of people need blood. If you do the math, it comes to an average of 1 transfusion needed every 2 or 3 seconds. Tonight I'd like to remind you of the fact of this need of blood, and that eligible adults should consider giving blood on a regular basis. Donating blood is necessary to the survival of millions yearly in our country and community. And and donating is not so time-consuming or difficult that it should deter us in providing this life-saving blood. Blood donation is needed, and I'd like to explain in greater detail why, some of the reasons why. You see, we expect the hospitals to take care of us when we go there, but the truth is, they cannot do that unless they have a ready supply of blood to give us if we need it. Much of medical care today depends on blood transfusion. Without blood, people die, or the recovery is slowed so much that other complications become much more possible. And 25% of people will need blood at some point in their lives, including 1 in 7 who enter every hospital. Many times when people need blood, they also need multiple transfusions, especially with people with blood diseases like leukemia, sickle cell anemia, and people with extreme injuries, or those undergoing organ transplants. Altogether, many people need blood regular and even daily transfusions, and many more need blood immediately, like crash victims or premature infants. This is a constant need, but it is often higher. For example, in the holidays, right now, and in the summer, when more people are traveling, the need is greater because of the greater number of car crashes. And blood is perishable, so surplus cannot be stored for those times when there are more. And so far, the blood banks have been able to keep up with demand without any major shortages. But we do still have shortages in the United States, which leads to a lot of suffering. And the need is rising at a 9% increase per year, according to the Mayo Clinic. Now, there's no other way to get blood besides voluntary donations. Hospitals and blood banks will not accept blood that has been paid for or taken by force. Of course, you can't take it by force, but they won't pay for it either. It has to be voluntary. And there's no other substitute for blood. Animal blood doesn't work. They have not come up with an artificial substitute. This is all we have. And finally, only a small percentage of the population donates. Some statistics, including those from the Red Cross, say only 5% of the total population in America. This is the need, and the solution is simple. A few hours taken every year to uphold the blood supply. There are reasons that people don't donate, ever or often, but they are easily overcome. According to the 2005 report of the Department of Health and Human Resources, 75% of the U.S. population is eligible to donate blood. These people include anyone from 17 and up, there's no upper age restriction, and who are above 110 pounds and in general good health, with no transmittable diseases. The people who can donate generally don't for one of 3 reasons. Either they just haven't thought of it, just hasn't occurred to them, or they say they're too busy, or that they just don't like needles. Now, I'm reminding you tonight that this is a civic duty we have to America, so that you can keep it in mind, and hopefully act on it while we're in this dangerous holiday season. As for being too busy, it only takes an hour total, and the actual donation process takes only 10 minutes. Not a lot of time considering our schedules. And to make donation more convenient, blood drives are usually organized at least annually by most companies and a lot of other organizations like schools and churches. If you look up blood drives in your area, like a lot of places you can do it by zip code, you'll often find 10 or more blood drives within a few months of when you look it up. And in fact, I'm working with the youth group to organize a blood drive here at our church. It will probably be sometime in January or February. I'm probably going to do this through the Red Cross or perhaps the American Association of Blood Banks. But I'm planning that youth group will provide childcare and they'll provide snacks and everything for our congregation to participate in. Now, I don't know anyone who really likes needles, but in all honesty, you can't escape them in today's medical field. I don't think the people who are receiving the transfusion complain about the needle. And I really consider it a small price to pay to trade a moment's pain for the life of one of my fellow Americans, and also the happiness of those who love them. When my family is cleaning, our parents tell us to look around us to see what needs to be done. I have looked and I've seen this need for blood donation. This need to support my country and community's health. And the solution is clear: to give blood on a regular basis. One only needs to look a little deeper to find the opportunities nearby. A blood drive will be coming to this very congregation soon, and I hope that when you hear of it, you'll remember the need and take this opportunity to make a life-saving difference. Thank you.